All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you how to set up your paper chromatography for your paper chromatography lab. Okay, so what you're going to need is a few things. Number one, you're going to need a beaker with a little bit of water in it, and I'll tell you a little bit. You're going to need paper chromatography strips. So you're going to get one long piece, and then you're going to cut them into 11 centimeter pieces. And then you're going to get markers. So I have 8 different markers that you are going to be using to do this. And again, the idea of paper chromatography is to separate out the different dyes or the inks that make up one color. So in a black pen like this, you know, they're not just using black ink. They're using multiple colors of ink to create this black ink. And so what we're going to do with this paper chromatography is to figure out couple things. Number one is what dyes are used to make these markers, and two, which colors are the most soluble and the least soluble in each one. And that's what the paper chromatography is going to test. So let's get started on what we need to do. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do to set up my paper chromatography is I need to get my one strip of paper that I'm going to put the ink on. So what I have is this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure about 2 centimeters high up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a straight line with a pencil. It's very important that you do this with a pencil, all right, because you don't want to, and hopefully this focuses a little bit, all right, there you go, all right. You want to use a pencil because of the fact that you don't want ink to get on there yet, all right. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to place a dot, right. It doesn't have to be huge or anything like that, but I'm going to place a dot with the marker, so I'm going to use the black one, all right, on it. It's going to look something like this, all right. So that's how I'm setting up my paper chromatography. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the beaker, all right, and let's move this over here like this, and I'm going to place about 1 centimeter's worth of water inside the beaker, all right. Now it's very important that when I put this paper chromatography in, right, that the dot itself, so this dot right here, right, does not actually touch the water directly. All right, what I want to use is what's called capillary action. Capillary action is going to move the water up the paper, so the markers or the dot's going to still be touching the water, but it's not going to be touching directly. If you do, then you need to start over again. And what you're going to do is basically, and if I move this up a little bit, I'm going to now place this. Let's move this over here. All right, I'm going to place this inside the beaker like this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this over, and I am going to, if you look at it, the water is touching the bottom of the paper chromatography, but it's not touching the dot, and that's exactly what I want in this. Now, as the water will then move up the paper chromatography. Now the other thing I want to mention is this. When I bent it, this is what I'm doing. I'm creating like a little bit of a ledge right there. That way the paper doesn't slip off and stuff. All right, and you can see my daughter's water bottles over there. But anyway, you're going to create a little ledge like that, right? You're going to fold that over when you do that. So, and that's pretty much it that you need to do. And what you're going to do is it's probably going to take about 5, 10, 15 minutes for it to go up. And ultimately, what you're going to do is you're going to place 4 different paper chromatographies in one beaker, because you're going to do 8 different markers, right? And once you put those in there, you want to make sure that they're not touching each other, right? That's one thing, because then it's going to ruin it. Now, by the time that you are finished, your paper is going to look something like this. All right, and if I move this a little bit closer, hopefully it focuses on it. All right, that's kind of what you're going to end up getting, and so you want to read that with your group and take a picture of your paper chromatography to show what actually happened and what dyes and what inks were used to make that different color. All right, now this is just an example. This is not what it's going to end up looking like for black. But that's just something that you want to look at. So make sure that when you do this, right, as you can see, it's kind of going up it right now, that you're very, very careful with how you put it in there. The dot should never be touching the water directly inside the beaker, all right? But it will eventually start to go up and up and up and up the paper. Once it gets to the very, very top, you want to make sure that you stop. The other thing too that I forgot to mention that you want to do is on the little lap right here, right? You probably want to put what color marker that you use. So in this case, I use black. So I'm going to write B. And since I have other colors, I'm going to put BLK. All right. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but if I go like that, there you go. All right. So I used a, come on, focus. All right, it's not focusing. But you can kind of see that I wrote something, there you go, BLK, on there to show that what it is. Because if you don't write something on that little ledge right there, you're going to forget what color was used to make that marker. So make sure that you do that before you actually put it into the water. So I kind of forgot to do that. So you want to make sure you do that. Okay, and that is how you set it up. And then obviously wait about 10-15 minutes for the water to rise up, and then when it's done, take it out of the beaker and take a picture of it. All right. And then what I would do is also I would keep these paper chromatographies in your cabinet because when it dries out, the colors will actually be a little bit more distinct than when it's wet. So if you want to wait for that, you can also just hold on to those pictures for later on when all the papers are dry. All right, and that's how you do paper chromatography.